Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm pleased to speak at the debate. I'm not a member of the Economy and Fair Work Committee, but I do have an interest in ensuring that we get a bankruptcy and insolvency. We have to get it right for people and communities across Scotland who are facing financial harm. I therefore welcome that this bill will bring forward stakeholder-led recommendations to introduce improvements to current insolvency solutions and debt recovery processes. And I thank all the committees and the members of the committees and the clerks for their scrutiny and everybody for their providing evidence as we take forward this legislation. Countries around the world have been facing unprecedented challenges and a strain on their economies in recent times, and Scotland has not been immune to this, not least from the Conservative-created cost of living crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic introduced a huge uncertainty with a far-reaching impact on business and employment arrangements for thousands of people in Scotland. And now that we're in the midst of this cost of living crisis, placing many households under extreme financial difficulty. Unfortunately for many, unsustainable debt will be the regrettable consequence, and it is right that the process that we put in place to address this are adequate and that to treat people fairly. It is essential that we look to maximise the effectiveness of our systems that provide the necessary protection and support to help all those people to navigate their way out of the pressure of problem debt. We have good mechanisms in Scotland with far-sighted reforms, including the 2015 placing high-quality consumer debt advice at the centre of the system. The debt arrangement scheme has been a major success and remains the UK's only statutory debt repayment solution. Reforms introduced immediately prior to the onset of the pandemic have been an enabler for the scheme to grow, allowing more people to take control of their debt through a manageable payment programme. The Scottish Government committed to a policy review of Scotland's statutory debt solutions with the aim of further enhancing and improving our system. The first stage of the policy review dealt with the priorities to be taken forward to help address the immediate impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The second stage of the review was undertaken by stakeholder-led working groups, which drew on a wide range of expertise and knowledge from representatives of all sectors included in the debt landscape. And I welcome that those stakeholder groups, made up of people with lived experience, have informed the approach to this bill. Presiding Officer, this bill contains powers which would allow Scottish ministers to create a mental health moratorium. Others have already described this as well this afternoon. There's steps at charities like Change Mental Health and the Samaritans. They've welcomed these steps. This power, if used, will protect people with serious mental health issues from debt recovery action. And the idea of a moratorium providing special protection to those with serious mental health conditions achieved broad support in the Bankruptcy and Debt Advice Review consultation. Yes, I will give way.
Stephen Kerr.
Whatever Harper giving way. She mentioned Change Mental Health, so maybe, and she cited them as being in support of the bill, and in principle I'm sure they are. But she will have received a briefing, as I have, where they outline specific areas of concern, at least 4 or 5. One of them is the eligibility, one of them is the mental health moratorium register, the public register I've mentioned, and it goes on like this. Does she recognise that the lack of detail and substance in the bill is a stumbling block to those of us who want to see real progress, that want to see Scots treated on a fair basis and certainly no less fairly treated than people in England and Wales?
Emma Harper, and I can give the time back.
I thank Stephen Kerr for that intervention. What I would respond in that is that, Change Mental Health are really supportive of how we take things forward. What I would support is Kevin Stewart's statements about lived experience being part of how we inform this as we take it forward at stage 2. And I'm confident that the committee will know how to address this bill and issues that have been raised up in stage 1 and then as we move forward after the debate today. So, Presiding Officer, I would like to think about this enabling power in the bill that establishes the moratorium that's included in the Bankruptcy and Diligence Scotland Bill, and responses to the Economy and Fair Work Committee show strong support for the principle of such protection if understandably raising questions over the details. And I want to pick up on one other point which some organisations have touched on regarding bankruptcy, debt and employment. We are all too aware, particularly over COVID and in the current cost of living crisis, that many people have fallen into unsustainable debt, with around 700,000 people in Scotland reporting levels of unsustainable debt. However, due to this debt and even bankruptcy, people are being negatively impacted in terms of their ability to obtain certain types of employment. And this in turn creates a vicious cycle, as people can't get employment, then can't pay their debt, whereas if certain vetting and employment practices were changed, then people would be able to establish payment plans to manage their debt in a more sustainable way. So I would therefore ask the Minister whether he would consider entering some kind of dialogue with the UK Government to explore whether certain types of debt could be omitted from, for example, government and civil service vetting. Presiding Officer, this bill is only one part of the programme of work to improve bankruptcy and diligence. The Scottish Government will introduce changes through secondary legislation, some of which is hoped will be laid before Parliament during the progress of the bill. And the Scottish Government has also commissioned a long-term review to assess how far current statutory solutions meet the needs of a modern economy. Yvonne McDermott, OBE, accepted an appointment to lead stage 3 of that wider stakeholder review, and there will be some matters that merit further consideration as part of the review, which is welcome. The bill is yet another example of how Scotland is making the process of bankruptcy and insolvency fairer for those in that situation, and I welcome the bill and I will support it at stage 1. Thank you.